start over here.
Alden Thurn, Deputy CFO.
Elvie Gray Jackson.
Pete Peterson.
Dick Craney.
And how about folks in the audience, since there's not that many identifying themselves? We'll start with you.
6 persons.
And this young man who's sitting down? We're doing introductions.
Elizabeth Zip, Municipal Income.
Mike Chatterton through audit.
Alan Blum, Fixed Asset Accountant.
Renee Proctor, Social Work City.
Okay, progress report. Alden Thurn, you have the floor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bear with me a little bit. I have that cold as well, and I hope my voice will hang out here. Just going to kind of touch around a few different areas that we've been working on since the last meeting. As you're aware, we're currently in a pause for the SAP blueprinting stage. What that has basically meant is that the vast majority of the consultants that were here before have left and are not currently here. However, we're able to maintain.
Now?
When he's done.
Oh, okay. We were able to maintain a small group of consultants who have been working on a time management project that is important for us to finish up regardless of the ERP system that we went with. We've also had some of our existing consultants that were on board have volunteered, their companies have volunteered their time for free of charge during the month of September. There's been consultants from SAP, from Oxford, and from Peloton that have volunteered their time, so to speak. So they've been working on a couple of other major projects that needed to be done to make some decisions downstream. So as I mentioned, we've been working on the time management piece as well as the data strategy and reporting topics. Those have been some pretty big things that decisions need to be made regardless of what ERP system we go with, and will assist the administration in some direction, because there's some very big internal things that we have to be working on as well, along with any conversion to a new system. So we've been trying to run those projects in their own silos at the same time that we've been doing this. In addition, as you're aware, the 7-member external review committee has been meeting weekly. In fact, they're actually meeting upstairs as we speak. 3 hours every time they meet. They are in the final stages today of putting their outline of the draft of what their recommendation is going to be, with the goal to have their draft recommendation document finalized next Wednesday, which is September 30th. As we mentioned last time, there was a goal from the Assembly as well as administration to try to get this fast-tracked and get through the process and figure out where we're going to go as soon as possible. They have really taken that challenge. I'm really thrilled with the dedication of the group that we had out there, the external people. They've worked a lot of hours outside it, plus, as I mentioned, 3 hours a week to prepare this document. So I would anticipate we are on target for next Wednesday to have that draft final report prepared. My assumption, and I haven't had a chance to talk to the mayor, is that they would present that to him, because he's the one who asked for it, and I would imagine to the administration's recommendation that they will figure out a process where they will go about it and release that and have their recommendation and discussions. And I don't believe he's here this week, so I haven't had a chance to find out what that plan would be.
Mr. Trainor, would you like to ask a question?
Alden, we were bleeding money-wise. Have we shut the money spigot off now? Or what has it been reduced down to?
Okay, so you had asked last time what the cost was, and be prepared to answer that question. So the Sunshine lease, the Sunshine Mall lease, we were not able to get out of. So that lease is still continuing to go on. But in addition,
For how long?
I believe it's an 18-month lease. I believe. However, as I mentioned, we have approximately 10 to 15 consultants who are either working on the time management process or are working for free, plus our existing staff. So we haven't been at 23 to 30 that we've had, but we've had people over there pretty much every day working, so we needed a place to put them anyway, and they basically just continued at their workstations.
Beyond the Sunshine Mall, are we still providing apartments?
That was my next thing.
Okay, and how much money are we talking about?
Okay, there were some leased apartments that were out there. There were single bedroom ones as well as 2-bedroom ones. Those leases we couldn't get out of. Some of them were 1st of December and some were the end of December. The single person ones were a little bit over $2,000 a month, and the 2-room or 2-bedroom ones were about a little over $4,000 a month.
So what's the total dollar amount that we're spending on apartments?
Where we could sublease, we attempted to try to sublease during this time period, but I don't think we've been overly successful with that. But we were unable to get out of those leases as well. But we needed a couple of them because, as I mentioned, we've had some consultants that have been here on staff from out of state. So we've tried to use some of them, but there have definitely been a couple that have been unfilled that we couldn't get out of the lease for. When we're going into the winter season here, if we get back on track, we will certainly try to use hotels rather than rental apartments.
In round dollars, Alden, how much money are we spending on those?
When we had the meeting, we had 8 units that we were looking at. I think we attempted to try to get at least half of those filled with people, so you're probably maybe $10,000, $12,000 a month on ones we weren't able to actually have people in. And then we are using the Sunshine Building, so I think we needed the space.
You might want to check Health and Human Services to see if we can put some of our homeless people into there. It might get the owner to kind of shut off the lease. An idea. Thank you, Madam
Anything
Chair.
else, Mr. Trainee? Thank you, Mr. Trainee. You
So
can
as I mentioned, the
continue.
committee's working and they're doing pretty good on that. We've had these other 2 silos that are going on. The functional steering committee, we've kind of had on pause for the last 2 weeks, but then we'll begin back up again tomorrow. I was out last week as well as during the pause. It's been kind of quiet and we've been working through. So that's going to be starting back up. And I'm also looking at starting up the executive review committee or executive steering committee hopefully next week or the following week, as the project or the direction we're going is going to start moving again, and we need to be able to pick those up. In addition to that, I took this opportunity to revise the travel policy. With the consultants that we've had up here, we had a lot of gray areas on some of the items that they were seeking reimbursement from, and I wanted to take a very strong stance that it's black and white. We're only going to pay for certain things, and get rid of some of the gray areas. So we are in the process of finalizing that. Once we finalize that, it'll go to purchasing. We'll then send it out to the different consultants or contractors at that point in time, make sure they understand that we've revised some of the travel policy guidelines so that certain things that maybe were gray before, we're crystal clear now that we're not paying for. So we've tried to take that opportunity to reduce any miscellaneous expense that might have been gray in the past.
Mr. Peterson?
Thanks, Madam Chair. And so you were mentioning how much some of the apartments were going for, but I didn't get the total number of what the monthly burn rate is. I think we were doing about $250,000 a month before or something. What's it down to now?
Well, I have to break into 2 things. As far as blueprinting goes, we are not spending any money on staff for blueprinting for SAP. You could argue that some of those apartments are costs that we weren't able to avoid, and we needed the lease space. We do have 5 consultants who are working on the time management module, or process, which is not SAP specific. So they are being compensated, and they're probably $20,000 to $30,000 a week on that particular group of people working on that. The remaining consultants that are here doing all the other ones are all on the volunteer basis, and they're not charging the municipality for that. And I will say that those tended to be the consultants that were on the very far end of the expense. The most expensive consultants are the ones that are still here working, because they tend to be the leaders and the ones that have the experienced staff. We did kind of look at it that, if the committee is chosen and administration wants to go down the SAP route, we did want to try to keep at least the leadership and the core group, so that if we did need to ramp back up again, we could minimize the startup time and keep that. So we did target some of the specific, what we felt were the best of the best of the consultants that we had to try to keep them on board, and that's the group that the contractors tried to line up for us. Now, with that being said, I know for a fact that some of the people that we've had have already taken other engagements, and if we were to start back up, we will have to find new people to fill in those. And that was, everyone kind of knew that up front, that was a potential that we had. We've tried to minimize that to the greatest degree possible by working on these other projects and having them donate their time until we can figure out the direction.
Right. Mr. Trainee has a question.
Alden, you said earlier you got some gray areas that you're trying to clean up.
Travel policy.
Right. I'd like to see a copy of that as you submit it to purchasing.
Final policy?
Yes, I want to see what we're dealing with, okay? The other thing is, San Diego had somebody help implement their SAP program that for whatever reason our last CVO didn't get along with, so she sent him packing. Would you get a hold of San Diego and find out who the individual was? Because they credit him for making SAP work down there. And I'd really like you guys to take a look at his availability. And, that's up to you guys. But when I hear from San Diego that they did get theirs to work and he was the implementer and getting it done, I'm thinking we couldn't do any worse than bring him up here. And for whatever reason, he had a personality conflict with us CFO. I don't care about that. I care about, do we need him here, and can that help us get this program? If we go with SAP, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Trainee. That was Wade. And from a report that we got from our contractor, Zig, I think you already made some contact with San Diego. But I have a question before you go on. So did I hear you say that they're a 2-bedroom apartment that rented for $4,000?
And when I was sitting in the meeting, that's what they were talking
That's a
about.
pretty nice apartment.
I think
for
nobody has a house she'll
$4,000.
break into a 2-bedroom apartment for $4,000. I know I do.
You know?
I know, they mentioned that there were some in the Westchester Lagoon area. I know that those are some of the ones, and then they're trying to keep them in Midtown as close as possible from an access standpoint. I wouldn't be surprised if the rates are...
Yeah, and that happened, before you were even on board.
That's great, actually.
So, Mr. Trainee?
Flip a comment. I want them in Mountain View or Fairview. Not over there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
We're
Mr.
going to
Trainee.
look for hotels, hopefully, that save us money on everything if we possibly can.
Thank you. You want to continue, Alden?
And then lastly, one of the items, and I know that you've seen some information from Zig's reports as well, is we were really trying to ramp up the blueprints that were done before the pause went into effect. And we were very successful on the HCM side. We were down to 0 on that particular one. But there was a group on the finalist side that I think was 67 at that point that were felt to be prepared and nearly, done and ready to be signed. And I just want everybody to know that I've actually attempted to try to move some of those along, even though we're in a pause. We don't have consultants working on them. We're not doing that. But if it was close enough, we're trying to get the core groups here to be able to at least review them and sign off. And I want everybody to know that we have made some definite progress on those blueprints, and at least getting those signed off, so that if we were to start back up with SAP, we've made some progress during the pause on that, and we can start fresh with the new ones that still need to be accomplished at that point in time. So we've kind of been working on that as well. So we've actually had many different things that we've been working on, and we're actually also taking this pause as an opportunity to as the committee's looking at whether SAP, not SAP, but we've also tried to take an opportunity. What do we do if we do stay with SAP after blueprinting and stuff? Do we still want to be the implementer into the next phases, or what are our options available? So that we actually are having options prepared right now that'll be ready in the middle of October. Should we decide to go that direction, it'll give us a variety of options for the realization stage through testing. And I wanted to take this time now for us to be able to do that. And as you're well aware, this process has been going on for many years. So I've tried to come on board here and say, we've got a lot of decisions, and I don't want to be waiting on anything. So I'm trying to get a lot of these things lined up now, even though we may not be needing that to start until 4 months, where we can make decisions well in advance of that kind of stuff, and we can roll from one section into another without having to wait. And that's what this pause has really meant from my perspective, is stop blueprinting doesn't mean stop work, and we are actively trying to make sure we're well prepared for the next steps where we don't waste time, because if we're wasting time, that's wasting money, and we're not going to do that anymore.
So I have just one comment. And you said September 30th is when the team is going to have a recommendation to the mayor. Well, I'm hopeful, and you can share this with the mayor if necessary, that the assembly gets an update ASAP, because we're just waiting with bated breath, I can assure you, what the decision is going to be.
Naomi,
Mr. Training?
to support your comment, I would want to get an early report as soon as the mayor sees it. The next report should be to us. Otherwise, it may take a long time to get your documents through the assembly. Okay? Could take a long time.
Thank you, Mr. Training. So,
We would like everything to be as speedy as possible.
yeah, and I know, that my colleagues are going to want to know pretty quick, so. And of course, I'm going to give a report at the Assembly meeting on the 29th from this meeting. And so I want to be able to say that on the 30th, shortly after the mayor gets the report, the Assembly will find out, too, what the recommendation is. Okay? Okay.
I just don't want us to read about it in the newspaper is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Trainee. Anything else?
I'm working on the report, and I will give it to the mayor when it's complete. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Anybody in the audience have anything they'd like to say or share, or maybe sing a song or something? It's up to you. Zig, do you have any comments?
Tomorrow.
Okay. All right. We're done. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.